I heard there was an appearance of Destiny on a podcast. Just look at that. So maybe I will watch it. I mean, it's 47 minutes long. I'm definitely not going to watch all of it. I want to hear about Palestine from the mouth of Destiny. Please welcome streamer and political commentator. By the way, just before we get started here, I want to emphasize that Destiny shared sexual videos of many people without their consent with his fans. Something that Destiny does apparently often is he looks for people from his community who are already prone to like him and targets them. And he pays for them to be flown out and have sex with him. And in one of those cases, he shared with one of those people images that he had taken of him having sex with other people, including apparently Nick Fuentes, images and videos with some of those people who he was trying to court into flying out to fuck him. And he shared images, pornographic images of those people without their consent. Pretty sure that's illegal. And he should be held to account for that as soon as possible. Anyway, with that out of the way, I just have to mention that just to make sure that we don't let him get away with it. We're going to mention it anytime that he's mentioned ever now. I want to see what he has to say about Palestine. Well, apparently he talks about Norman Finkelstein. Let's see this.
Scholar, and then you've got Norm Finkelstein, who's one of the most quoted Western, kind of pop historian types on Israel-Palestine. Yeah. And I'm there to add some flair.
Pop historian types, he says. This guy's talking about fucking pop history.
Cool. But after the first 2 hours, I don't remember if Lex has this on tape or not, or if he cut it, but Benny and Lex are telling me, they're bro, you got to go way harder. This guy's clowning on you. And I'm really? And yeah, you got to open up on this guy.
But it's just so
then I start going a little bit.
so divorced from people dying in a war.
But that was Norm's fault, though. No. This is very frustrating.
Can I just explain? No,
hold on.
Shut the fuck up, actually.
Listen.
Holy fuck.
I'm not going to debate you on this.
Roll the clip of Norm going on Brianna Drag Race show, and then Norm is when I went there.
Roll the clip. Does he think this is his show and he can just tell him to roll the clip?
I was just going to laugh at him the whole time. And that was his whole plan.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't he say in this that he never read books in his life?
The month before October, it was the first time I'd ever had a formal diagnosis for ADHD, and I started medication for it. So I'm not joking.
You're gonna do this TikTok crap, your mental illness?
No, I'm saying that for the first time in my life, okay? Because there's been a lot of jokes on my stream about how I'm always playing games and I'm debating people at the same time, and
I mean, you do that because that's all. You don't know anything. You don't know anything. You don't care about anything either. That's why you do that. You're just stupid. You're intellectually incurious. You're unqualified. You don't know what you're talking about. That's why you do that. It's not because you had some undiagnosed mental illness. That's why I choose to never read anything. People with ADHD can read books. People with ADHD can do research. You didn't do it because you don't fucking know about anything because you're really stupid.
Watching videos or ADHD, but I started medication and I noticed afterwards I can actually sit and just read a book. And it's been very hard to read full books and read whole papers and stuff.
You started reading books?
Yeah, books.
What's your first book?
He started reading books for the first time a year ago, and he's okay, guys. I read a book for the first time ever. Time for me to fucking talk. Time for me to fucking talk about Israel Palestine.
That you read?
I'm trying to think of a joke. Stop.
The game. The game.
Yeah.
Easy. Okay, go.
Hilarious pop culture reference.
Hey, hold on. Okay, continue.
For Israel Palestine, it was.
What was the first book? You said you learned how to read.
I think it was Scars of War, Wounds of Peace by I think Shlomo Ben-Ami. Was his first book on the Camp David peace process. Yeah. But
that's the first book you chose to fucking read.
After I was able to read stuff, history became a lot more interesting to me. A joke on my stream was always fuck history, that's boring as fuck. But now I super enjoy reading about history.
Does anyone believe this for a second?
And then in reading and learning the conflict, there's just a lot of cool people, events, places. There's just a lot of cool stuff.
Oh my god, he talks about history like a fucking child, like a history buff. Oh my god, it's so cool. There's so many cool people, so many cool places, so many cool genocides. Oh my god, history is so cool. He talks about it like it's a fucking superhero movie, which does not really surprise me at all. That seems to be his mentality. God, history, Israel, Palestine, history, it's so cool. There's so many cool people, so many cool places, so many cool events. What the fuck are you talking about?
What led you to the conclusion that you've reached?
This is my sales pitch for Israel, Palestine, okay? Yeah. This is my issue.
This is my sales pitch. Oh my fucking god. History is so cool, dude. This is my sales pitch for Israel, Palestine. You have to be fucking kidding me.
Okay, is that both sides are very invested in telling an entirely alternative history to the other side. And because
you go with the winner.
What?
You go with the winners.
No, I think there's a shared mutual history between the two. But
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anything that he's saying. The facts matter, and the facts are clearly on one side. Something which someone like this could never possibly discern. He's too stupid. Even if he wanted to be honest, he's too dumb to be honest.
That the people on the far sides of this don't like to acknowledge any of the shared stuff.
The shared stuff. There's nothing shared about it. One group was expelled from Palestine by the other group.
For instance, in 48, right?
Correct.
I understand why the Jews would want to leave Europe after the Holocaust and everything else, and after they got promised from the British in 1917 with the Balfour Declaration. All this. I understand that, but I also understand if you're a Palestinian or an Arab, why you want to fight these motherfuckers coming in.
They've made a bad bet.
Seems like
So the people who left Europe after World War II were justified in going to Palestine, and but they don't really deserve blame for it, for victimizing these people who had nothing to do with what was done to them. They don't deserve blame for it, and these experiences are the same. No, they're not the same. Leaving Europe after World War II was already over, by the way. After it was over in most of these cases. To go and systematically massacre and expel an entire other people, how are those things the same? How is leaving Europe in that case the same as being systematically expelled by those people? It's not. Especially given the fact that the people who were systematically expelled have nothing to fucking do with it. You talk about shared history, shared trauma. There's nothing shared about that. One group did that to the other group. The other group didn't do shit to them. They weren't leaving Europe because of what Palestinians did to them.
we look today, it's a pretty good bet, no?
No, because the objective of Zionism is to keep Jews safe, and in that sense, it's been a failure because they're at war the whole time.
Yeah, the wars that they're winning, though, right?
I don't think that's the objective of Zionism at all.
What is winning wars? People
As in
are
the
dying.
country still exists, and there's not millions of Jewish people being murdered. What do you mean?
I mean, there aren't millions of Jewish people being murdered in other places either. How does it make sense to be in a state of perpetual colonialism, perpetual conflict, and then argue that you're doing it in the name of the safety of your people? What is safe about joining the military and fucking murdering people who are then forced to fight back against you? What's safe about that? Colonialism is violent. It's inherently violent. It breeds resistance. How is that safer than just living in fucking New York? Safety for this guy is having the freedom to massacre other people on an ethnic basis, I guess. And being Jewish justifies it. That's how they are. That's what their beliefs are.
Being at war and people dying in wars is not keeping people safe.
I think that if you were a Jew and you just come out of the Holocaust, and then you could go to a country that's at
Those
war
people
for
didn't just come out of
80
the Holocaust.
years.
No one in Israel just came out of the Holocaust.
People made Aliyah before that.
Oh, you're trying to really trigger me. Okay.
What do you mean trigger?
Okay. The majority of the Jews that were there by 48 were probably from Europe. I agree with you, right? For second, third, there was a ton of aliyahs for
Aliyot.
people.
Aliyot.
Yeah, for people coming over. After 48, in every successive war, there was a huge migration of Jews from surrounding Arab states because
Correct.
people get mad. Yeah. So today, the majority of the people living there are of Middle Eastern descent, right?
Is it worth having a democracy?
How does any of that change? Even if we accept everything that he's saying here is true, how does that change anything? How does that change the equation? If you're of Middle Eastern descent, that makes massacre and expulsion and colonialism more acceptable.
Based on ethnicity, where in order to maintain it, you have to maintain a majority, naturally, right?
The sad thing is that probably most democracies are built this way.
No, they're not. He's just making shit up. Most democracies are ethno states. No, they're fucking not.
Just aren't perceiving it because you don't have that same kind of
I'm American, bro.
Yeah, you don't have the same pressure.
Sick.
Even in the United States.
You don't have the same pressure? What? Pressure from the people who you massacred, displaced, and actively still colonize and genocide today?
We don't take more than, and of all the immigrants legally we accept per year, no more than 7% come from each country.
That's not
right?
the point I'm making. The point I'm making is if you're going to establish a Jewish state, right, you have to establish a Jewish majority.
Sure,
It's going to be a democracy, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a demographic issue if there's just as many Palestinians.
Yeah, there is. That's why traditionally they didn't capture the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and after 67 they did, and it fucked shit up a lot for them.
This is not two sovereign groups of people.
What is he even trying to say there? He's just yeah, what you're saying is true. And he's just recounting it as if it's a sort of a neutral thing. Yeah, they have a segregated ethno state where they keep millions and millions of people without citizenship and terrorize and massacre them periodically and also actively steal their land. Just kind of logical, I guess.
That are at war with each other. There's a power imbalance, and if you ignore that power imbalance and you say that there are two sides to every story, then you ignore kind of the political reality there.
Okay. I understand your view. I think that your view is super wrong.
Why?
Because you're only accounting for one side, and you make it seem like it's so obvious who's
Why am I
wrong.
counting?
It's just an emotional argument, I guess based on the feelings of the Israelis. You have to take their feelings into account and just ignore the actual facts.
For one side.
Because you're saying that it's so simple for who the wrong side is here, when it's not. Both sides
I didn't say the wrong.
Yes, it fucking is. Oh my god, no fucking wonder this guy does not debate me. He's having trouble with a fucking comedian.
Wrong side.
Generally, as soon as you utter the phrase power imbalance, it's you're automatically assuming
They don't have this right to self-determination.
Okay,
that's just a fact.
Even with what you're saying, do the people around them with self-determination have the right to vote?
Logical
Yeah,
fallacy.
they don't.
Logical fallacy.
Actually, that wasn't a logical fallacy. Actually,
I'm saying that they don't have political sovereignty.
That's true.
And they are occupied
That's
by
true.
people that do.
that's true. But then the question is, what does the resolution to that look like?
Anytime the fucking prime minister is about to go to jail, then he has.
If you're going to say that's true after just saying that, you need to, he's just ceding immediately. It's not even a strong argument, just saying that's true. That's true. When 30 fucking seconds ago, he was saying that it's not.
To fuck up some Palestinians. That's the
I haven't
resolution.
heard a resolution.
My grandma lives in Cape Town, bro.
Jesus.
She didn't have to move because black people got to vote.
What does it have to do with?
You can end an apartheid.
Yeah. Do you think that if Jews lived as a minority?
I do right now.
Do you think that you live in a minority state where the majority are Arabs?
I'm a minority in America.
Are the majority here Arabs?
Oh, if they're Arabs, it changes. You see, Arabs have like some sort of innate anti-Semitic essence that just forces them to massacre Jews. That's the fucking argument here. Incredible.
Do you think that you would face the same pressure here?
What is it? What's the difference? I'm saying it's a country where people vote.
Okay.
Right?
My top line.
Isn't it wonderful how Israeli genocide, Israeli colonialism, Israeli massacre of Palestinians is justified by this fucking made up like reverse genocide always? Isn't that fucking wonderful? Well, they have to massacre them, they have to kill them because Jews are special and they have a right to do things that will normally be impermissible. What an incredible argument, right?
Line complaint actually is I actually feel like no foreigner should ever talk about Israel-Palestine.
Asia, Gaza, Germany.
Then why do you do it?
We had beef with them, no?
I don't know how that would have worked, but maybe they should have. It's like people complaining about past wrongs. I can understand that. I'm sympathetic towards that, but that doesn't get you any
Past wrongs. What the fuck is happening right now, you fucking idiots?
closer to like,
God, he's
what
so
does the resolution
dumb.
look like? And
He's so absurdly stupid.
if you just say, well, one
The
state,
resolution is that
Like talking fast with like rapid fire idiocy is his entire game.
everyone can vote in a country.
okay, I don't think Jewish people are ever going for that.
He just straight up said, Israelis, they don't want to let other people vote. Israelis will never go for that, and we have to respect that. Apparently, he doesn't actually see that as like a bad thing that delegitimizes them and means that, well, that's unacceptable. We need to stop them from doing that. He just like, they think that, and I guess because that, what's the argument for that being okay? What's the argument for that being something that we have to accept? What's the argument for that being that their victims have to accept that? There's none. It's just by default. They are Jewish, and they want to have like a Jewish ethno-state that just does genocide periodically, so we need to respect that, I guess. We have to respect it. The appeal to Jewishness fallacy, literally. They are Jewish, they want to have an ethno-state, case closed. They should be allowed to have it. No need for any explanation, no need for any sort of elaboration. That's his entire argument. And you can see from this, he just moves on as if what he just said justifies what he's implying without even elaborating on to like another idiotic proposed solution.
I think understandably
Extensive
so.
demographic study of what people lost, reparations for what they lost.
Do you think
Truth and Reconciliation Commission and one man, one vote?
Do you think that for the Jews that left all the surrounding Arab states, do you think they should all pay reparations as well?
You notice like the equivalence of this? I went over this in my video responding to Ethan Klein whitewashing the Nakba by mentioning this. But like blaming Palestinians for like supposed expulsions, which is, by the way, bullshit. Because Arab states have come together as a bloc multiple times to offer like the return of property to like any Jew in Israel who can prove that they or their ancestors were expelled and had property stolen from them in an Arab country. This has been a demand of the Palestinians multiple times. They have come together with the Arab states to say, okay, we want you to say to like Arab Jews in Israel that they can come back and you'll give them their property back and their citizenship back and all of this, blah, blah, blah. Because then they don't have that excuse to use against us when we ask for the same from them. And they did that. They invited them back. I went over this in my recent video on the topic. Let me show you. So this talking point is completely bunk because they have already said that. They have already offered that. And guess what? Israel refused to allow it. Do you know why they refused to allow it? Israel even refused to allow individual Jews to attempt to negotiate, individual Israeli Jews to attempt to negotiate individually with those Arab states. They made it a crime. Do you know why? Because once they do that, the precedent is set and then Palestinians and their supporters can point to that. So they want to prevent it from happening. The only people who are preventing that from happening is Israel and the Israelis. And it's also a bunk. It's not an equivalence at all because those people moved into fucking Palestinian houses. It's not the same thing. Being expelled to a ghetto and then lorded over by the people who have just expelled you is not the same thing as leaving or being expelled from an Arab country and immediately moving into those people's fucking houses and murdering them yourself. But even apart from that, as I said, I'm going to show you right now what I mean. So here is this part in the video where I talked about this idiotic talking point, which no one ever brings up, but you should. Which is obviously self-evidently true. Another thing is that the Palestinian leadership has for a very long time been conscious of what these Arab Jews mean to the Israeli propaganda narrative. And in 1975, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, at the time the most important Palestinian organization, asked that the Arab nations from which these Jews were from issue a formal invitation to them to return and be given their assets back, or at least to receive compensation. None of them took them up on this offer. In contrast, the Israeli state has never even once even acknowledged the ownership of a single Palestinian who had been expelled from their land or home, let alone offered to give it back to them. And this is because this entire narrative of Jewish expulsion, the false narrative of mass Jewish expulsion, because while there were expulsions, obviously it was not characterized solely by expulsions. There was a lot of forced migration induced by Israel, some expulsions and then some voluntary migration, is bullshit because the Israelis don't actually care about this. For them, it is a rhetorical tool that they solely bring up in response to the Palestinian right of return. The Israeli government itself is very careful of this because they know that if they start talking seriously and openly about this Jewish right to return to other Middle Eastern countries, that legitimizes the Palestinian one. And the Palestinian right of return is what they want to prevent because these people don't want to go back. You know, they're living at large in Israel at the expense of Palestinians. Why would they want to go and be given like their grandparents or their great-grandparents' land back in Iraq or something? On the other hand, the Palestinians desperately need their land. They have no other land. They have no other assets. They have no other place to go. So for Israel, this is a rhetorical tool that they use. Though the government itself doesn't really use it, it's mostly Zionists not operating in an official capacity who like to bring it up. In the 1990s, when the Israelis started paying more attention to this rhetorical strategy, they investigated pushing these claims during the so-called peace process that was going on then, and decided against doing so or even trying to do like any sort of serious investigation into how much Jewish property had been lost, how much it was worth, and pushing the countries that were involved for compensation for it, because they were worried about the precedent that would set, which would allow Palestinians to do the same regarding Israel. The Israeli state in 1999 even forcibly dismantled the agency that it had set up to represent Arab Jews in their claims for their land and compensation from other Middle Eastern countries, because the organization took on a life of its own and tried to secure equal representation among it for the 1 million Middle Eastern Jews who don't live in Israel. They simply didn't actually care. For them, they set up this organization as just sort of a no you. And once it became its own thing that no longer suited their interests, they got rid of it. So it is a dishonest narrative. So yeah, it's as I said, for a Zionist like this, it is a thoughtless, idiotic no you. It is not an honest argument. Now, this guy is too fucking dumb for anything to laugh at. Like, arguing against his dumb Zionist talking points, it's just like, it's so basic, so dumb that I've talked about it a million times before already. So where's the funny bit?
For the Holocaust.
Yeah, but not from all the surrounding Arab states. Okay.
You started reading a book in October. Now you think you're fucking William Shakespeare. That's
What else is there in this? I think someone said something about like Destiny got into politics because of Gamergate. Okay, here we go.
How did you parlay that?
How did you get from being a fucking video game streamer into politics?
How did you parlay that into debates or politics?
By the time 2016 rolls around, there's a historic, horrendous event called Gamergate.
They were mad that girls were trying to make video games?
It was just a whole, there was probably a legitimate complaint about some girl that had some bad relationship with like a reviewer or something. I think there's some like element of legitimate complaint there, but it blew up into like just the most ridiculous, like.
Someone smashed a journalist?
Yeah, who reviewed a game, I think. I don't even want to say the names because I don't know like 100% of the details, so I don't like fuck it up, but the problem is whenever you get on a movement like that, there's a whole bunch of riffraff that can come in.
When you're playing a game and you're chatting shit at another guy,
yeah,
it becomes like a kind of embedded in a culture. Is that?
Oh, a little bit, yeah. Because you don't see each other face to face, so you have to ramp up the aggression as much as possible. Yeah.
He got into politics because fucking people started talking about like black people and women in video games, I guess. Is there anything in here that's like actually funny or like of any worth at all? But yeah, I mean, losing a debate with fucking Adam Friedland, a guy who got popular by being on a podcast literally called Cumtown, which its logo is like a bunch of cum. When you are like a professional politics debate bro, that might be a bit embarrassing, honestly. Hitler Art School part? No way. No way. Did he actually say
One
this?
talk on a stream for 10 minutes.
That's just fan behavior. They always do that.
That psychological processing of media is it
think
has
it's
to be
really bad.
It's detrimental. It has
There's
to
a lot
be.
of artwork from Hitler that I like, and people can't separate.
Okay, so let's have a debate right now. Let's have.
What artwork from Hitler do you like? What the fuck are you talking about? Hitler's not fucking sucked. There's a lot of artwork from Hitler that I like. Dude, what the fuck? Okay. That's enough of that. I've seen enough. I did my fucking community service for the day by treating that idiot's arguments as if they were at all serious for like 10 minutes. There's an open invite to have him hop on stream and like account for him sharing porn without permission of various people, and obviously to destroy him on Israel-Palestine as well. But these people are just fucking terrified of me, every single one of them, right down from like the animatronic slop YouTubes to like the Destinies and the loner boxes. Every single one of them is fucking terrified, man. Time to pop out and show him.